So why exactly is free speech so important? Find out here today on Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website, and as always, you can engage live in the content. Come follow me right here at Jimmy Rants over on Instagram. That's where all the fun begins. We begin at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday through Friday. Thank you so much for being here today. And we also simulcast over on Twitch, where Kelly just says, I like this Twitch. I'm trying to break my Instagram habit. Yeah, so if you're kind of tired of some of the other social media outlets, Twitch is a great alternative. You can follow me. Just download the Twitch app. And then I'm Jimmy More Rants over on Twitch. And yeah, it's very few people over there. So you got all the room that you need to jibber jabber with me. So thank you guys for being here. Also to my Facebook fans. And I use a personal Facebook page, so it's only along the lines of 5,000 people I'm allowed to have as friends. I guess they don't think you're possibly can have more than 5,000 friends. And so as people move off, I move people in. And so those of you that get to watch on the Facebook feed, you are amongst the 5,000. So thank you guys for being here today. If you missed the live, you can watch it on the replay over on the Jimmy Rants IGTV, so go check that out. You can also watch the replay on Twitch. It does stay up there in high def for you guys to watch it as well. And it's also available over on YouTube. We'll pop that up over on YouTube. The live feed didn't work today. For some reason, I couldn't get it to connect. So if you're used to watching this live and you're watching this on replay on YouTube, I apologize. I wasn't live today, but I've been having trouble getting the stream to work lately. And then finally, you can go watch the full episode of this Jimmy Rants and all the past Jimmy Rants over at the official website, JimmyRants.com. And today is Monday, so over the weekend, yesterday specifically, we debuted the latest episode of the One Step Deeper podcast that I do with my friend Brittany. And so that aired yesterday at 4 p.m. Eastern. It always debuts on YouTube first. So if you want to go watch the interview or it's not an interview, but the conversation about being the real you and about authenticity, that just went up. And then the brand new podcast is now available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and Apple Music and all the usual suspects where you can find podcasts. In fact, I was playing around on my Alexa a little bit earlier, and I can actually ask it to play the One Step Deeper podcast. So, Alexa, play the One Step Deeper podcast.
Getting one step deeper from Amazon Music. Here's where you left off in the latest episode. One Step Deeper, Episode 7, Be the Real You, Why Authenticity Matters.
Why aren't people more real with each other? This is kind of a whacked topic.
Alexa, stop. So that's pretty cool. If you've got one of the little at-home devices, you can just ask it to play One Step Deeper podcast. And so Brittany and I are very excited that is now available in podcast form. But if you would prefer to watch video, it's also up on our IGTV over at the One Step Deeper podcast Instagram page, as well as on my Living Low Carb Man Instagram page. We got it everywhere. It's up on YouTube as well. Go look it up, you guys, and hope you enjoyed that. But today, it is Jimmy Rants time, and I always love starting off the week with a bang. And starting off the week with something that's really on my heart. And this particular topic here is so very important. And yet I feel like there's a lot of dismissiveness about this. And I want to put it on your radar screen. Because quite frankly, I never thought in my entire lifetime we would have to talk about what I'm about to talk with you today. And it's the whole idea of free speech and why it's important. America was founded on freedom from tyranny. That's why America fled British rule. And they didn't like having restrictions on speech and press and their freedom to express their religion and all kinds of things. They did not like kind of a totalitarian dictatorship over their lives. That's exactly how America got built. And now we seem to be regressing back to an era where it's okay to squelch speech and squelch a lot of things that we, quite frankly, as Americans have taken advantage of. Now, I know some of you live in Canada and other parts of the world, but this applies to you as well, because if they can do it in America, they can do it anywhere. And this is becoming very concerning. So what I'm going to talk about here today is, what's the big deal about protecting the idea of free speech anyway? Some people are like, what's it matter? You know, if they keep a few ugly voices out that might be inciting violence, isn't that a good thing? Or if they prevent misinformation from getting out there, isn't that a great thing, Jimmy? No, it is not. And I'm going to tell you why here on today's episode. I've got several articles here, but just as a precursor to this, by the way, I have a background in political science. I have a bachelor's degree in that. I have a master's degree in public policy. I have lived and breathed constitutional law, American history, pretty much throughout my education. So yes, you know me as the keto guy, but I got a lot of information and education about this particular topic just from my background. I don't use it per se occupationally, but it's still there. So why is this so important? And the reason I'm talking about this today is, when you silence one side of an issue simply because you disagree with that issue, who gets to decide what's the right side and what's the wrong side? And what happens if someone else gets into the power to decide and they believe exactly the opposite, and then they silence that voice and reopen the side that they want to hear? Guys, that is not America. America used to be called the melting pot, where we could have one angle of an issue, another angle of an issue, and sometimes, other tertiary issues, but basically two main angles, and then leave it to adults to come up with what they think about that. That's what freedom of speech is about. And there was a time in America when we said, you know what? I may disagree with you. This used to be a popular phrase. I may disagree with you, but I would fight to the death for your right to believe what you believe. Guys, I don't know that that's true anymore. If you ask most people, would you be willing to lay down your life for the right for someone who believes Donald Trump was a great president to be able to say that? I don't think there would be very many. And vice versa. I don't think there would be very many on maybe the other side that would say, would you die for the right that Joe Biden's definitely your president now? No, I don't think they would. So we're in a very precarious position right now when it comes to this whole idea of free speech. So I've got a few articles here that underscore why free speech is a big deal, and I want you to know why it is. So maybe you haven't really heard much of this. Maybe it's been a while since you've been in school and you learned about the Bill of Rights and the First Amendment, but we're going to dig into it deep here today. If you're just joining us, we're about to dive into what the big deal is about protecting the idea of free speech. All right, so this first article is from a website, pacificlegal.org. The title is Remembering Why Free Speech is Important. At a time when freedom of speech seems to be under assault, it's worth stepping back to reconsider why it matters. In a free society, all citizens must be able to pursue their own paths, set their own goals, and think for themselves. Of course, in America and elsewhere, there are norms, orthodoxies, and taboos. Any dissident personalities frequently challenge these norms by eschewing the orthodoxy and venturing into taboo. And I think it's okay. Like, I remember when I was a kid, the one that pushed orthodoxy in like the entertainment world was Madonna. Madonna came out and had like burning crucifixes in her music videos. And there was kind of this, oh my God, because it was against the orthodoxy. And it was taboo. You don't burn a cross. Oh my gosh. And so there was kind of this move to try to silence her. And and people that were like looking at freedom of speech going, all right, guys, it's just speech. It's just speech. Lady Gaga, I guess, is the epitome of that in today's society. She wore the meat suit and about made all the vegans have an aneurysm. That VMA award she went to in a dress made out of meat. And so sometimes you will venture into the taboo, and sometimes you will break from orthodoxy. Does that make it disallowed, that speech? I don't think so. How a society treats these dissidents can tell you a lot about how truly free that society is. Listen to this, you guys. In some places, the government will silence or punish those with unpopular viewpoints for refusing to sacrifice their independence and their ideas. And this just happened last year, might have been late the year before, with the protests in Hong Kong. Remember that? And how China clamped down on them and silenced them, punished them for going against the grain of popular opinion. So America, juxtaposed to that, offers a very rich tradition. People have been traditionally able to freely express their ideas, even if they're unpopular, even if they're unconventional, and even if they're wrong. Like, I am so sick of this, we have to prevent misinformation from getting out there. No. There is no such thing as misinformation. There's called information that's either right or wrong. Information is not harming anyone. Information is, informing people. And in that informing, you let people express their ideas, express what they believe. If it's wrong, it's going to become quickly evident just how wrong it is. But when you force silence upon those things that you say are wrong, what if those things you silence are actually right? Then what? What is left? What is left is either a half-truth or an outright lie in and of itself. What happens when you squelch one side and only let the other side be heard is you're not being educated, you're being indoctrinated and propagandized. Guys, this is out of the playbook of communism. Do you not know your history? Go back and look at Nazi Germany. Go back and look at the USSR. It's bad. This is like the playbook of all playbooks. Joseph Stalin. Look up these people in American history and world history, and you will see just how bad squelching freedom of speech is. Americans are thus free to participate in peaceful protests, which we saw last year. Not just peaceful protests. We saw protests that got a little bit fiery and violent. You can wear black armbands to school, and you can even burn the American flag. I remember that was controversial when I was a kid as well. Oh my gosh, they're burning an American flag, but it was a form of speech of people who were saying, you know what, I don't like some things going on in America. I'm going to burn a flag to express that feeling. Now, I never loved people burning flags. I think the flag is sacred. You don't mess with the flag. But if that was their decision to rebel against what they think are wrongs in America, then so be it. It's free speech. A speaker may say things that are unpopular, uncomfortable, or downright grotesque. In a free society, though, we engage dissent through discussion and debate, not through censorship and punishment. Guys, one of the things that sets America apart from the rest of the world is we have this ability to speak our minds, to say things that might be unpopular, might make people uncomfortable, might be even gross or profane in some way. They got a right to do it. The First Amendment avails them of that right. And so what we're seeing now with things being fact-checked on social media, things being just downright removed. I had a video over the weekend, or I guess late last week, removed from YouTube simply because I shared a differing opinion regarding the 91.5 word than what is the norm out there. And guys, they've cracked the code. Now when I use V word, they're flagging my videos. So even now, I have to come up with another way to kind of code you guys when I talk about those things, because they're already flagging. I look through like all my videos on YouTube, and every single one where I used V word, they flagged it as could be suspicious content. Every single one of them. So they know, they're watching. Is that right? That to me is taking away free speech. Free speech is inextricably, listen to this, linked to prosperity. America has thrived in our 200 and something years of existence. Almost 250 years we've been a nation. We have thrived as a nation, the most wealthy, abundant, blessed nation in all of world history in only less than 250 years. And right now, we are seeing the ramifications of what happens when you leave those principles behind. Free speech inextricably linked to prosperity. You want to know maybe why we're not prospering as much as we usually do? Because we're throttled. We've got a media that only shows one side of stories. We've got so many things going wrong right now because we've stifled free speech. After all, prosperity comes from ideas, and new ideas can thrive only in a society in which they are free from suppression. This is what I don't understand. Well, we can't have that idea because it's inciting people and it goes against what everybody believes. Yes! Anytime progress has been made in all of history, the way it was made was somebody was willing to buck the system. Somebody was willing to say, that's interesting, but what about this? And offering a different opinion. That is what has made us so unique and creative and innovative and continue to prosper as a nation. But now they're trying to back that away. It's easy to think of widely embraced ideas that were once controversial. Listen to this. The idea that all children, regardless of race, should have the same educational opportunities. That didn't used to be true. It also didn't used to be true that we thought all humans were created equal, because there was this horrible decision by the Supreme Court called Dred Scott, where they identified black people as 3/5 human. Now, how messed up is that? So we haven't always had ideas that were right or that were just, but they were ideas nonetheless. And because those ideas got out there, now we have the ideas and the things that have made us what we are now. This is a slippery slope, guys. Thanks to free speech, forward-looking ideas helped shape our society and make it better. We are better because of our debate of ideas. Today, it is more important than ever before to protect freedom of speech. Too many people have come to believe that discussion and debate are inadequate. They seek a society that squelches any kind of dissent with force. Looking at you, Instagram. Looking at you, Facebook. Forcibly, and those of you watching on the replay, looking at you, YouTube. They are removing anything that they deem as misinformation, dangerous, misleading. They don't want you to be exposed to ideas that go against the norm. Guys, I love it when someone challenges what I believe, because in that challenging of what I believe, I learn something. I grow. Maybe I see an angle of something that I didn't see before. Now it's crystal clear in front of me. Oh my gosh, I never saw it that way before. Right? Think about how we have been taught our entire lives that a low-fat diet is the way to get healthy. We all believe that, right? How did we stop believing it? Because I'm assuming most of you that follow my work, you don't believe that anymore. How did we stop believing that? We were willing to question and challenge and look at voices speaking against it. And we came to the conclusion that they made a whole lot more sense than the low-fat ones, right? Same difference here. Same difference with any issue. It's not misinformation, it's information. And through that information, you learn what you believe and why you believe it. In law, government regulations are censoring speech that is disparaging, immoral, and offensive. In culture, people attack the speaker rather than engage the ideas. Oh my gosh. Like, I know when I have won a debate when they turn personal. They stop talking about the ideas that are being shared and they talk about the person espousing the ideas. And I put ideas out there quite a bit all over social media. I do it here on Jimmy Rants every single day. I put out ideas. And if you disagree with the idea, okay, push back on the idea. But no, what I get is, well, you're just a ignorant fat fuck and you should just shut the fuck up. And I'm like, okay, thank you for verifying that my argument won. Because if you have to go to personal attacks that quickly, you can't argue on the issue. It's very obvious. And it happens every single day. Opponents vilify speakers. They call them misogynist or racist. And then they attempt to drive them from the public square or deprive them of their livelihood. We've seen a lot of things like doxing, where they kind of out people and give their addresses. We've seen the cancel culture that's become pretty popular over the past year. They don't want you to go against the grain. I missed the meeting where they said, okay, these are the accepted ideas. These are the ones that aren't accepted, and you better stay on the accepted and not the unaccepted, or you're going to be praised if you do the accepted ideas and vilified and canceled, and I'm going to ruin your life if you got the unacceptable ideas. That ain't America, guys. That's not the United States of America I grew up in or want to grow up in anymore. In the worst case scenario, disagreeable speech is met with violence. I don't think it's gotten too close to violence per se, other than some of the, the protests and things that have been put out there, and then violence come back, but it could get worse. These attacks on the tradition of free speech are damaging to a free society. And what they do is they suppress uninhibited, robust, and wide open debate. That's the biggest crying shame about this whole censorship and move to silence people, is we don't get to have debate. And a debate of ideas is the foundation of a successful society. The moment you stop letting people freely debate ideas, even if their ideas are wrong, let them be a part of the discussion, and the wrongness of their ideas will become quickly evident. You don't have to shut up ideas. And in fact, just the opposite. When good ideas, or ideas that people think might be bad, are silenced, it makes you wonder, why are those ideas being silenced? What is it about what's in them? To me, when you silence voice, and all the people being silenced right now, it's like, okay, why silence those? Especially if right is on your side, why would you silence voices that are obviously wrong? Because the rightness will quickly out the wrongness. Have you stopped and thought about that? So freedom of speech is an invaluable cornerstone of a free society, and it's worth fighting to protect. So again, that was pacificlegal.org, had that great little article on free speech. I got another one here from indexoncensorship.org. Why is free speech important? All right, so the importance of allowing every individual view to be heard, and those who fear taking on opposing ideas and seek to silence or no platform should consider that it is their ideas that might be wrong. If someone's views or policies are that appalling, listen to this, then they need to be challenged in public. For fear they will, as a prejudice, capture support for lack of challenge. This is the thing. They're silencing voices. They're not doing anything to squelch people's belief in those voices. What they're doing is they're saying, why are they silencing those voices? What is it about those voices that they're trying to hush? And what that does is creates even more intrigue about the silencing of the voices. So let the stupid ideas come out. Let the wrong misinformation ideas come out. And the truth will quickly turn that around. If we are unable to defeat our opponent's arguments, then perhaps it is us who is wrong. And this is where the rubber meets the road. You silence voices that could be speaking truth because you yourself are wrong. This is why I keep asking, who gets to decide what's right speech, what's wrong speech? Who gets to decide what gets fact-checked and what doesn't? Who decides who gets banned from Twitter and Facebook and who gets to stay? It's intriguing questions. I would also be concerned at the fascism of a majority or even a minority preventing views from being spoken in public simply because they don't like them and they find them difficult to counter. Whether it is through violence or the abuse of power, such as platforming, we should always fear those who seek to close down the debate and impose their view, whether it's right or wrong. These are tyrants. We need to hear many truths and live many experiences in order to gain wisdom so we can make right and justified decisions. I wrote about this today on social media, where people have been like coming at me because I've been talking about the 9-1 DIVOC V word. And they're like, oh, you're just spreading misinformation. You're anti this and you're anti that. And I'm like, no, I'm not anti anything. I'm pro information. And with information, you can make good decisions. You gain wisdom with information. Don't prevent me from seeing information. Now, if something's whack and I think it's whack, let me make that decision whether or not I believe it's whack. It's not your role to protect me from that information. It's my role. It's personal responsibility. Each one of us has that. Each one of us are grown, and we can make decisions based on the information we see. Will there be some information that's wrong? You bet there is. Could you possibly believe it? Yeah, but maybe along the way that you keep reading information and being exposed to it, you learn that was wrong. I've had that happen many times in my life, guys. This is not new. This is the way of the world. Information. Assimilate information, and this is what I believe. That's how it works. Rather than information. Okay, so that's it. That's all I have. I don't have just information. Just the one. That doesn't sound right. Can I? No. Okay. You see what I'm saying? This is propaganda. This is free speech, and we should have it very open. Free speech has been the topic of many debates over the years. Many world leaders speak out and act in solidarity whenever there is tyranny around the world. I'm trying to skip ahead because I got one more here. All right. Why should everyone have the right to free speech? This is really good here. First, it's a basic liberty. Intellectual restriction is as serious as physical incarceration. Listen to this. When you don't allow freedom of speech, you are imprisoning people. Think that one through. If you're not allowed to speak freely, you got ideas up here, but you can't vocalize them, you can't write them down, you can't go on video, can't go on a microphone, you just got to hold them in. You are basically in prison. That's a scary thought, a scary visual. Freedom to think and to speak is a basic human right. Anyone seeking to restrict it only does so, listen to this, the people wanting to restrict speech, they only do it because they're seeking further power over individuals to go against their will. Free speech is an indicator of other freedoms as well. You take people's free speech away, it's a slippery slope to the next, and the next, and the next. And this is why our founding fathers were so brilliant putting in the First Amendment the freedom of speech and of religion and of the press. It's there, you guys, and it's there for a reason. It is foundational of your humanness, your existence. Second reason why everyone should have the right to free speech: it is important for a healthy society. Free speech and the free exchange of ideas is essential to a healthy democracy, and it is crucial for social and economic development. We won't thrive in America until we get this speech back under control. And quite frankly, the power that big tech has had over on all these social media platforms, the power that big media has had over only showing us one side of issues and not always the other side, it's scary to think that they have been the reason why maybe we've been held back economically. Maybe we've been held back as a society culturally. Free speech is not just nice to have, it is essential to the well-being, prosperity, and development of society. And it's why I'm on here today, you guys. Free speech is everything about what makes us great. And there's some people who don't think America's great, and that's fine. You are free to speak that opinion. But there's a lot of us that do think free speech and America are synonymous. You take away free speech, you take away America. One thing I'm beginning to realize is immensely important for a society is for individuals to know what the ideas are that are out there. The vast majority of educated and young populations realize how detrimental their government can be to their country, and yet those people still elect leaders that continue to suppress them and oppress them. I think what's critical in each of the elections is that right before, the government usually titrates back or blocks Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook so they can control what information is released and produced, a damaging image of the news media. The media crackdown perpetrates the idea that the news and social media, except the ones controlled by the government, are bad for the country. Guys, that's what other countries do. America doesn't do that. But guess what? America just did that in 2020. Collusion between the media and big tech and specific political entities and power brokers impacts a lot of what's going on in our culture right now. And if you hadn't figured that out by now, I sure hope it's becoming a lot more clear to you now. All right, I got one more article, and this was a really good one. And this one is from mediadefense.org. 10 reasons why freedom of expression is important. So this was just so good. Freedom of expression, number one, is a foundation for many other rights that you get to enjoy. Freedom of expression is a human right. Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, in fact. Freedom of expression covers speech, freedom of the press, gives individuals and communities the right to articulate opinions without any kind of fear of retaliation, censorship, or punishment. The right to freedom of expression wouldn't be worth much if the authorities also had the right to imprison anyone who disagreed with them. And effective media also depends on the legal basis that a freedom of expression gives the right to function and report freely, sometimes critically, without threat or fear of punishment. I follow a lot of independent journalists on social media because, quite frankly, the so-called journalists in our mainstream media don't always give us the full picture. But some of these independent journalists who are there on the ground with their cameras and doing reports, you get to see exactly what's going on because they just show you without a bias. Freedom of expression is not an absolute right. It does not protect hate speech or an incitement to violence. That said, many other rights which are intrinsic to our daily lives build on and intersect with this protection for free thought and individual expression. And so this freedom of expression covers everything from satire. Have you ever read the Babylon Bee? I love the Babylon Bee. It is so hilarious. It's literally satirical comedy website that takes all of the news of the day and does a fake headline and does a fake story about it. And it's so over the top fake. It's obvious. But some people, they get up in arms when they see some of these from the Babylon Bee and go, oh my gosh, they can't say that. It's satire. They can say that. To political campaigns, to even conversations in your own home. I would think if there's any place you have sacredness of freedom of speech, even though my Alexa over there is probably listening to me, it's your home. This is where you can speak freely. It's a fundamental human right which allows citizens to speak freely and without interference. So it's a foundation. Freedom of expression, a foundation. Number 2, a free press will help inform the public. Knowledge is power, print, online, TV, radio. Without a free exchange of information, people can't be fully aware of what's going on around them, and so they can't meaningfully participate in communities or democracies. And that's so true. If you only hear one side and you're not allowed to go against that one side of things, how are you supposed to expand your knowledge? How are you supposed to connect? How are you supposed to live life? It can't happen. Local and national reporters, bloggers, news outlets can keep people informed about what's happening in the world around them. A freedom of expression is the legal underpinning which allows people to access all kinds of information about current events and matters of public interest. Large media companies, local newspapers, or from one another through citizen journalism and social media. I'm an active participant in, citizen journalism by sharing stuff on Jimmy Rants and on social media. And I share opinions that run counter pretty often to what the mainstream is. And even in the nutrition world, all the stuff I've talked about with low-carb ketogenic diets for years, that pushes hard against the mainstream narrative. And guess what? They were throttling me circa 10, 15 years ago. They were even trying to silence people like me. And yet I stuck around. When freedom of expression is respected and recognized, the media is able to freely report on all areas of life, including politics, economics, and societal events as they occur. Guys, that's not being allowed right now. There are certain things that if you took a video of it and you posted it online, it would be removed and you would be blocked from that platform immediately. And it's just information. That's what gets me. What is so threatening about just sharing information, sharing visuals? There's certain visuals of videos that happen that are about current events. You can't find them. They're gone. They delete them. Number 3, informed voters equals stronger democracies. A democratic society hinges on the people being able to hold informed opinions and express them in the voting booth and more broadly in their day-to-day lives. It's important that people are able to ask tough questions of the people in power and find out about decisions which affect them and their fellow citizens. There are some politicians, quite frankly, that never get a hard question asked of them at all. And then there's other politicians that get super aggressive questions asked of them. Why not ask equally amongst all the candidates? Why does one get treated one way and another gets treated another way? If it's truly about free speech and letting each kind of be heard in the same context. Freedom of expression is a core value in the democratic process. It ensures people are able to discuss, exchange, and debate ideas. This human right also allows individuals and communities to find information which is important to them and then share it with others without fear of censorship or reprisal. Through the media and through public debate on and offline, freedom of expression supports the development of informed citizens and voters. I don't think the voters have been given enough information. There was certain information just before this past election, presidential election we had, there was certain information that was purposely squelched that would have been damaging to one of the candidates. It just wasn't allowed to get out there. It was censored. It was removed everywhere. The mainstream sources did not even talk about these things, and yet it was pretty relevant. And if the shoe was on the other foot, it would have been front page news all the way to election day. It didn't happen. And then after election day, yeah, about that story that we didn't know about, we're just finding out about, wow, there's a there now, a month after the election. That's not serving people well. That's not free speech. Number 4, fairer elections equals more better democracy. If you don't know all the facts, how do you know who to vote for? To vote for the candidate who best represents your own views, you need to have accurate information. Elections give huge amounts of power to specific individuals, parties, and institutions, so it's crucial that the media are able to report accurately and critique the work of people who hold office, even when it's not flattering to them. In the run-up to any election, the importance of media is amplified. However, often in the run-up to elections, powerful individuals and institutions try to affect votes by influencing or restricting information people receive from the media. That's exactly what happened this last election. Freedom of expression is crucial to the process of participating in a democracy. It will influence everything from newspapers to social media posts and campaign advertisements by allowing voters to make their voices heard and to make educated choices about the topics which matter to them. Freedom of expression will only strengthen the democracy. Number 5, discovery of truth. This is why free expression of ideas and free speech is so important. It's crucial to be able to ask difficult questions, follow interesting stories, look at and call out the inconsistencies, and to report accurately on every issue. By dedicating time, energy, and skill to finding out what's going on in the world around us, you're able to bring important information to the public arena. It's why I share information so frequently. Does it go against the grain of what everybody's talking about sometimes? Yeah. And the reason I talk about it is because nobody else is talking about it. And I think ideas are worth being heard, especially ones that are not being amplified. When they started pushing all the wear a mask, socially distance, stay at home, blah, 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 blah last year, I was thinking, vitamin D, get in the sun, meditate, exercise, eat real food, something, anything. Nope, never heard that. Not from them. You heard it from people like me and other people in the alternative health space. So in the absence of information, you fill the gaps. That's what free speech is about. Accurate information is of huge importance to public debate, forming shared values and influencing policies on the local, national, and international levels. Investigative journalism is one of the most public-facing ways of sharing new information. Freedom of expression supports and protects the press's ability to research and report in the public interest. Number 6, there's 4 more after this. An important press can hold powerful interests to account. So sunlight is the best disinfectant. Independent reporting shines a light on sometimes hidden topics, provides crucial checks and balances on powerful people. While an accurate press is not always flattering, it's crucial to hold the powerful and wealthy accountable. Public attention creates scrutiny, and it's a disincentive for corruption. Number 7, without freedom of expression, reporting can become strained. Truth or danger. In places where freedom of expression is not respected, the media faces a choice. Do they censor themselves, or do they put themselves at risk? When the media cannot accurately tell the whole story, it's impossible to have a balanced, high-quality journalism. In countries where the media are pressured to only report on things which align with the ideological or political framework, journalists have to self-censor. Some do not report the full story, while others choose to report on other safer topics instead. And I'm sure that's happening a lot even now here in America. People are afraid to say certain things. And not just in journalism, I'm just talking about people like us, just you and I. We're afraid to speak what we believe. Can I tell you, if you are, don't? Like, I know that's easy for me to say because I'm a little more bold than probably most people, but don't live your life in fear. Like, if you believe something and you have something to say, your free speech matters just as much as anybody else's. And don't let anybody try to take away your ability to speak up and speak out if you've got something that you want to say. A respect for freedom of expression is an essential element for a functioning society. Number 8, freedom of expression gives a platform to other human rights. If human rights are abused and no one knows, how do you stop it? Freedom of expression underpins a wide variety of other human rights, both directly and indirectly. It can shine a light on human rights abuses, such as torture, persecution, and interference with people's rights. Without accurate reporting, many human rights abuses would not be known about and might continue with impunity. Freedom of expression allows people to tell their story, help advocate, hold governments' feet to the fire. From access to information to freedom of assembly, a freedom of expression allows for active participation in a civil society and civic engagement for you to be heard. From petitions to boycotts to public protest to collective organization for workers' rights, freedom of speech and expression facilitates action and allows events to be reported on. Number 9, marginalized and minority issues will be heard. These are by very definition the most likely to be left out of discussions. Freedom of expression guarantees that no matter what your idea is, it will be heard. And when you allow people to freely speak what they believe, even if it's a minority opinion, even if you think it's the most conspiracy theory whack job idea that's ever been uttered on the face of the planet, free speech allows it. Let them be heard. If it's that wackadoodle, it will be quickly shut down, right? By the truth. Freedom of expression allows you to tell your story without censorship or a fear of attack. Improved representation can help improve understanding and opens the door to creating better discourse and a more connected society. Freedom of expression also helps a wide variety of marginalized cases and voices to be heard. The right to freedom of expression also guarantees people the right to speak their opinions even when they're unpopular or go against the status quo. Freedom of expression ensures people will be able to advocate for themselves and others. Think about, they used to not let women have the right to vote in America. So think about pre-1919 when that happened. Think about if the woman who spoke up and said, hey, what about us? They squelched her and didn't allow her to speak up. What about Rosa Parks sitting on a bus and refusing to accept the rule that black people aren't allowed to sit on the bus, except in the very back? There's countless examples in our nation's history where somebody bucked the trend, had a minority viewpoint, and they pushed back. And look at the change that happened. The good change that happened. All right, the last one on this list: art, academia, comedy, and more. Freedom of expression protects more than just the press. From academic study to political satire to fine art. I remember a few years back there was controversy because there was an artist that put a crucifix in a clear jar of urine. And people were like, oh my gosh, you can't do that. And it's free speech. Repulsive to me and a lot of people, but free speech. They're allowed to do it. Being able to think freely, discuss and debate ideas and points of view is integral to academic study, from the arts to the sciences, to develop ideas which help us better understand the past, present, and future. It's essential for individuals, groups, and institutions to put forward their opinions, concepts, and theories without fear of repercussion. Stand-up comedy. You could not pay me enough to be a stand-up comedian these days. The world is so politically correct now that you say one little thing and they will cancel you. In fact, I watched a documentary on Amazon Prime Video last weekend all about that, where it's hard to be, you can't take a joke, I think is the name of the documentary if you want to look it up. It's a lot of comedians, how they have to like dance this line now, and that if they cross that line, they will get canceled. And it's happened again and again and again. Satirical cartoons, literature, theater, visual arts, freedom of expression is the cornerstone to creating a healthy and vibrant culture. So guys, what's the big deal about protecting the idea of free speech? It's everything. It's what we're about. And the moment you take away free speech from America is the moment you take away America. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. We're going to come here first to Instagram, then over to Twitch, finally over to Facebook, YouTube. Bit the dust today. I could not get it to go. I'm wondering if they, because of all the dings with me saying V word, they like, nope, we're not going to let your videos be seen. So, I don't know, but it's definitely not allowing me on there for some reason. All right, let's go here first to Instagram. JimmyRants.com is the website, by the way. Let's see here. Shirley says, what's the deal with YouTube? Yeah, I have no idea. Temple says, let's go. We're losing our rights right in front of our eyes. We are. And it's saddening me, you guys, because I am an opinion guy. It's basically what I do here on Jimmy Rants. I offer up opinions. You know, and I realize not everybody likes what I share here, but quite frankly, I don't like a lot of what I see online every single day. But I would never imagine thinking that those things need to be blocked or censored or fact-checked. No. Let your nonsensical ideas out there, and I'll share mine that counter it. And that's how you have a discussion. I don't want some idea to not be seen and heard just because I disagree with it. Who am I to decide what you should believe? And this is what we've gotten away from, guys. You're allowed to have a different opinion from someone else. Clearly. It's what makes us interesting. I love somebody that believes the opposite of me. And I've got friends in my life, you guys, that from a life philosophy standpoint, we could not be more exact opposite. I've got one in kind of the low carb community that I've known since the very beginning. And he and I are opposite in every way imaginable. And yet we're the best of buds. And we don't hold the fact that we believe oppositely on a lot of issues doesn't hold us back from being friends. Like that's the beauty of having a debate of ideas, is you're not going to make someone your enemy. And I just wrote about this today. Just because I disagree with you does not mean we're enemies. It's all over social media if you want to go to read it. But yeah, he and I are the best of buds, even though we don't agree pretty much on anything other than low carb diets are pretty darn cool. That's where we agree. Everything else, pretty much not even on the same planet when it comes to ideas. Angie says, Facebook blocked my picture of the Simpsons cartoon as a fake picture. It was a cartoon talking about things going too far. Yeah, the censorship going on right now is just, it's disheartening. Again, I never thought in my lifetime I would see this level of censorship in the United States of America, and quite frankly, ever. This is why the United States was created, to get away from that. Guys, go back and read your history. America was founded fleeing tyranny, fleeing this idea that you don't have a right to free speech. Oh, how quickly we forget. Cariana says certain ideological groups have said that speech equals violence. That is the mother of all gaslighting. Yeah, exactly. When I hear people say, well, speech is violence. No, violence is violence. Speech is just information. Now, it may be sucky information, might be profane information, it might be disgusting information, but it's just information. Speech is not harming anyone. Let people speak. Rosalie says, you're so right. When a debate turns to personal insults instead of the facts, the debate is officially over. Yeah. I always know when people turn to personal attacks against me that I've won the debate, because when you turn personal rather than looking at just the issues that are presented in a discussion, that's when you know that things have turned or taken a turn for they don't know what to say next to your facts, and so they're going to come after you. Britt says people are okay when it's an opinion they agree with, but it won't stop at just a certain opinion, and when it flips off their free speech, they won't like it. Yes, this is the thing. If you don't stand up for my right to speak what I believe, who's going to be there to stand up for your right to say what you want to believe when they try to take it away from you? This is what people don't get. They are so in the moment. They don't look at the ramification of things. And the ramification of silencing some speech just because you disagree with it, what happens when your speech is now taken away? And there's nobody there to stand up for your right to say what you want to say. Nobody thinks that through. Like that's common sense, guys. Shirley says big tech, mainstream media have done a great job of brainwashing people, often get dismissed as conspiracy theorists, and I refuse to even hear what I have to say most of the time. Yeah, I've come to the conclusion, Shirley, that when they call you conspiracy theorist, it's just another way of saying I disagree with you. So anybody that has an opinion that runs counter to yours, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist, you're hateful, you're this, you're that. And it's a tactic. It's gaslighting, if you ask me. Kat says America is not the same anymore. Well, I refuse to go down without a fight, because I'm American through and through, and I'm proud of this country, and I love my country. And if this is the direction we're going, there will be a major fight. And I'm not alone. There's a bunch of people that believe in what America is about and what we're seeing right now in our country, right this moment in our country. It will not stand. There's too many people, good people, that believe in the foundation of what America is, and anybody that tries to change it from what it is, they're going to be in for a big fight. Bring it. I can actually see the reasoning behind no voting for women when we used to have babies nonstop, back to back, sleepless, tired, irrational. Mom brain is a thing. Yeah, I suppose if that was the reasoning. I don't know what the reason was other than they didn't see women in society at the time, Kat, as fully participants in our culture, which was wrong. In the same way that they didn't see black people as fully human. Thank God that ended. And then we went through the segregation era, and then the civil rights movement in the 60s, which granted rights to the black community to now vote and all the rest. So yeah, we made some mistakes in our past, but look how we overcame them, guys. Bad speech was allowed to become policy and allowed to become law. But then look what came from that, because then there was speech back to that bad speech that became law that countered it, and now we've grown and we've evolved and we've moved forward. We're going to stifle our growth as a country and maybe even kill our country if we keep suppressing speech. Low Carb New Yorker, what about how freedom of speech carried over to porn and how it's exacerbating human trafficking and even worse atrocities? I think there are certain kinds of speech the Supreme Court has come down hard on. You can't yell fire in a movie theater, crowded movie theater. There's certain things that cross the line. But what we're talking about is allowing people to freely express their ideas within the bounds of that kind of thing. Definitely it's for legal scholars and for Supreme Court justices to interpret what that means. I would think in your example with porn, it's out there. It is what it is, I suppose. But you're right. It has led to bad things. And so if they wanted to kind of titrate that back, I guess that's the debate. But it's a tricky business trying to parse that out. What is able to be freely expressed and what isn't. I suppose if it incites violence or harm, and especially harm to children, that can be somewhat controlled. It would have to be to protect the children. But it's a slippery slope when you start saying this speech is acceptable, this is not. Right now they're just saying things that are obviously acceptable that it's not accepted. They're just censoring and removing, and that's what I'm talking about here today. You've been controversial, but I still love you. Well, I don't mind controversial, because controversial means you're thinking. And if I offer a point of view, thank you for that, Low Carb New Yorker. If I offer a point of view that runs counter to what you believe, then my challenge to you is, all right, think about what I'm sharing and let it shape what you believe and kind of process it through your own thinking. That's all I do here on Jimmy Rants. Trust me, I get a lot of people every single day that I get exposed to that I think they're whacked. I'm like, oh my God, you believe that? You're saying that? But I want them to say it. And sometimes I come across that stuff and I go, oh. And now it makes sense, their point, and then I integrate that into my thinking. That's evolvement in your thinking. But if all you hear is one side, and you never get any kind of alternative, how do you ever grow in wisdom? You don't. Kat says life in general is about balance. It's tricky. Never an all or nothing proposition. Yeah, never. Are you going to go to Gab? Parler is down. Well, Parler's down right now. From my understanding, they are looking for another server. But yes, Gab is out there, and other people have talked about like some video platforms as well, like BitChute. There's a bunch of Rumble. There's a bunch of them out there. I'm still deciding what I want to do. For now, I'm still on Instagram and Facebook. Twitch has been a really good platform because they don't seem to censor anything over there. So stay tuned. Still on all the usual suspects, but I am actively looking at all those things, Shirley. So thank you for that. I was just thinking how many blessings we now have. Washers, dryers, dishwashers. We used to be robots, hard work, nonstop. Yeah. We evolve, don't we, Kat? We evolve. All right, thank you, Instagram. Let me go over here now to Twitch. Got a bunch of comments over here. Wow, you guys. Thank you for that. Oops. I see Parler is down right now. So much for the libertarian argument that if you don't like Twitter, start your own. Well, you can start your own, but you got to be mindful that if you're on a server of someone that's friends with Twitter, like Amazon, they're going to shut you down. I hear that the soon-to-be former president is about to start his own kind of network, so that will be interesting to watch if he gets his own servers and he does all of that on his own. That's what he says he's doing, so we will see what happens from that. John F. Kennedy said famously, those who make peaceful revolution impossible, says Marcus, will make violent revolution inevitable. Yeah. Yeah, because if you can't speak up, people will speak out in other ways, and it's never good. Cariana says, when you remove speech as a means to settle differences, what's left? People will rebel. That's what's left. I'm really afraid some people may feel there's no alternative when they're stripped of their most fundamental right to free speech. That's where we are. People are feeling that fear, for sure. Speak your truth quietly and clearly. Listen to others, even to the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. From Max Ehrman's Desiderata. Thank you for that, Marcus. You got all the quotes for me today, man. That's awesome. Saya says, when I first started listening to you and you were talking about how you were being throttled, I thought you were being paranoid about it. It did not take long for me to realize just how right you were, how blind I had been. It has been made painfully obvious how bad things are getting with the censorship with recent events. Thank you for that, by the way. And even today on Instagram, this lady wrote me, because on my stories, I wrote something about the V word for 9-1 Divock, speaking in my code. And she very innocently said, why don't you use the real word? What's wrong? And she has no idea. Like, I think there is this obliviousness that speech is being throttled. Total obliviousness from a certain segment. And I'm glad that you finally are seeing it, because it is real. Very real happening right now. And those of us in the arena, so to speak, sharing ideas, we feel it, and it's real. So thank you for noticing that. And yeah, we're going to keep doing what we can do to get the word out. Thank you for opening my eyes. You're very welcome. Kelly says, I deleted Facebook and I'm working to not support Instagram. I can only vote with my time and money. Well, Kelly, I'm glad you're over here on Twitch now. Again, you guys, if you want to follow me on Twitch, I got the biggest following I think I've ever had on a Jimmy Rants, live Jimmy Rants today. So thank you for that, you guys. But go follow me on the Twitch app. You can download it. It's a free app. Until they figure out some people are talking over on Twitch, they may try to shut that one down too. But I'm Jimmy More Rants over there. I really don't want to have Instagram with all the censorship, says Grizz. Yeah, no, none of us want censorship. None of us want it to be happening. But guys, the reality is it's happening. And if you don't adapt and you don't kind of recognize what's going on, they're going to keep doing it. And that's the thing too. The more we tolerate it happening and not moving to other sources, yes, they're trying to prevent Parler from being a thing, because Parler was becoming a thing. Parler was having so many downloads and so many people were going over there, which, by the way, I am over on Parler. When it does come back, you can follow Living Low Carb Man. I am over on Parler. If Parler, once they come back, develops some kind of a live video format where I can go live, I will go live from Parler. And probably once these things drop me, because it's only a matter of time, you guys, where I won't be on Instagram anymore. It's only a matter of time when Facebook, they like, okay, enough of you guys. We're going to just drop you. Bye-bye. All right, so let me thank you, Twitch. Let me pop over here now. I'm going to move you guys to the side just a little bit. Pop over here now to my Facebook page. What's up, Facebook? Always a happy discussion over here with you guys. Wipe my eyes. I've been talking a long time. YouTube blocked you, sadly. Wouldn't surprise me if YouTube blocked. I saw a CNN article come across my Facebook feed talking about Parler sending misinformation, so Google and YouTube blocked. Yeah, Tanya, that's talking about free speech being stifled. That's a big thing. That's the big news right now. Judy says it's time for the Department of Justice to bring antitrust charges against them. Well, you kind of have to have people in the Department of Justice willing to do that work. I don't know that we do. Christine says, I remember when MTV came out, my mom would not allow me to watch it. It was the devil music videos on the devil channel. Yeah. Yeah, that was a big thing in the 80s. Candace says they are doing it everywhere. I'm amazed that people who grew up with the kind of freedoms we have in Canada and the amazing constitution that was developed and fight for by the people is now being turned apart completely. And the people are sitting by and playing this sick game of follow the leader. Yeah, that's what's happening. They're creating a huge divide with the other half of the nation. I fear this is just the beginning of the being heard at whatever cost. Yeah, this is the thing. Like when you silence one side, that's in America, that's over 100-something million people. If you're not letting all voices be heard, you gonna piss off that many people and not think they're gonna rebel? Of course they're gonna rebel. They are private businesses and set their own rules. Wendy, actually, that's not true. Yes, they are private businesses, but they get special protections from the government. And the government, through Section 230 of the Defense Bill, allows them to basically be an outlet for people to share opinions. That was the reason they got Section 230, so they could not be sued. Well, now if they're actually going to censor certain voices just because they disagree or fact check things or blur things or throttle traffic, that's on those businesses. They're not able to do that with the Section 230. So that's my concern with arguments like yours. I've heard a lot of people say that, and yes, I'm well aware the First Amendment only applies to government speech, but if the government is influencing your business in a positive way, you are under the auspice of the government. And so, no, they are not a private business under this particular context. And thus, either remove the Section 230 and let them have it doing what they want as a private business. And if they censor someone and someone sues, they have to deal with the consequences of that. Right now, you're not allowed to sue, but then they're censoring you anyway. That's not right. Absolutely not fair to only disperse information that big tech agrees with. This is what China does. Exactly. This is what totalitarian regimes are doing. Not the United States of America. Given that they own a monopoly on the spaces the entire world has access to, and they sell the manipulation of the narrative, the only way to stop them is for everyone to get off of social media. Then how do people gather and band together to fight this? They are banking on the fact that we won't do the work to get out from under the wool. Oh, I think, Candace, there are probably plans in the work by various people who want to provide some kind of an alternative platform. Parler was the start, but Parler's not the only one. Gab is out there, and other ones are being talked about, so stay tuned. When those get created and they can stabilize them and keep them apart from all the entities that want to silence your voice, you watch. People will flock to those things, and we're going to end up having an ideological split in the social media world. There will be basically one side, is going to have their apps. The other side is going to have their apps. The problem is, okay, you go to one of the other apps because you're trying to learn, but then what happens if you go to one and you're censored, but you go to the other and there's debate? Like, which side's going to flourish? People will leave the one where all they get is one side. The reason you're on social media, the reason you interact on videos like this one, is you want to hear maybe something you don't necessarily agree with. If all you ever hear everywhere you go is stuff that you agree with, would you keep listening to that? Like, I purposely push myself outside of my bounds of what I think and believe by having things that challenge me. That's the beauty of being an intellectual, trying to learn more, trying to expand my horizons, trying to increase wisdom and knowledge. That's how you do it. You look at things outside of what you already believe. But if you only listen to things you believe, how do you ever evolve in your thinking? And the clear answer is you don't. Marcella says, I used to see many bad faith arguments over free speech, and it's not as partisan as one might think. I remember the attempts to ban Harry Potter books and textbooks that discuss creationist and evolution. Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, Mark Twain, that was also controversial. Oh, and another one that's considered free speech, burning of the Bible. So people got up in arms about that. It's free speech. Yeah, there's all kinds of examples of that. Remember when they repealed net neutrality? Now ISPs can legally throttle web content that they don't like. Well, to me, that's unfortunate. Berkeley says, porn is not a victimless issue. We had decency standards until the last couple of decades. Freedom is not a license. What can we do to fight this? It's so scary. I'm so worried about our future. For our children, what will their future look like? Well, Tanya, people that are adults right now, standing up for free speech. That's what we can do. We can stand up on behalf of free speech. Make your voice heard. Contact your congressman. Contact your state governments. Contact anybody you can, because I guarantee you there are concerns out there and they want to hear from us. And if enough of them hear from us, then they're going to have to do something about it. The problem is elections have consequences, and there are people going into office that want certain things to happen, and maybe this is one of them. Throttling back on what you can say and what you can't say. Berkeley says Parler does not restrict. Exactly. Unless you're just like incredibly inciting violence or something like that, you're right. Parler is pretty much an open forum for any ideas. Bring back the fairness doctrine and net neutrality. Well, thank you for sharing your opinion, Marcella. Let's go back over here to Instagram. Just created Twitch, says Marnie. Thanks for the heads up. Yeah, Twitch. A lot of gamers are over here. Somebody says, hey, leave our porn alone. Well, I mean, it is freedom of speech, but there are consequences to what that does. But Twitch, you guys, is mostly for like gaming. A lot of gamers do like live videos while they're playing games, but they do have a talk show podcast category, which is what I'm in. Jimmy Rants over here on Twitch. So thank you guys. I got a lot of people watching live on Twitch, so I appreciate you guys. Britt says, if all private businesses have freedom to do what they want, then all businesses should be allowed to be open right now. That's a separate issue, and I appreciate you sharing your free expression of ideas, your free speech about that. And by the way, I concur with your free speech on that one. So, all right, guys. So what is the big deal about protecting the idea of free speech anyway? It's everything. It's the very core of what makes America, America. And that's it for this episode of Jimmy Rants. JimmyRants.com is the website. And as always, you can engage live in the content. Come follow me right here. I'm over on Instagram. Go follow at Jimmy Rants over there. We are here Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Thanks so much for being here. We also simulcast live over on Twitch and on my Facebook page. Thank you all for being here today. If you missed the live, you can watch it on the replay right here at the Jimmy Rants Instagram page on IGTV. It's also available on replay over on Twitch. So if you're watching this on the replay on Twitch, thank you for watching today, you guys. It's also going to be up over on YouTube. Just as soon as this is over, we pop it up over on YouTube for you to see the replay there as well. And then finally, the replay over at JimmyRants.com. Okay, you guys, thanks so much. So the rest of the week is a great one. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about, on Tuesday's Jimmy Rants, why your New Year's diet is doomed to fail from the start. Really fascinating story from the New York Times, all about that. Then on Wednesday, I've got a study about, a new study, looking at ketone bodies and its impact on your cardiovascular health, because traditionally we see a lot of negativity about ketones and heart health. Well, there's a new study that talks about the concentration of those ketones mattering when it comes to that. And it's World Journal of Diabetes is where this was published back in mid-December. And then on Thursday, there's a lot of ramifications as to what has happened because of all the measures put into place because of 9/1-DIVOC. And so we're going to go over this article that I found that talks about some of these ill effects that have taken place as a result of us dealing with 9/1-DIVOC. So, and then Friday is Ask Me Anything. So we got a full week of great shows for you guys. Thank you so much for watching here today, and we'll see you again tomorrow at 11 a.m. Bye. All right.